All right, Niners faithful. Let's dive into everything surrounding our San Francisco 49ers, because this past game was a roller coaster filled with highs, lows, and a whole lot of drama. To kick things off, let's start with some encouraging updates. Kyle Shanahan gave the impression that the squad is holding together, and Brock Purdy himself came forward to say that the concern about his toe isn't going to be an issue. That's the kind of news you want to hear heading into a short week. Add to that the confidence from Jawan Jennings, who made it clear he has no doubts he will be ready when the team faces the Rams. That alone stirs some excitement, because Jennings has a history of stepping up against Los Angeles. Cast your mind back to last season when he delivered the best performance of his career against them, in a matchup where the Niners didn't have Deebo Samuel, didn't have George Kittle, and didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Yet, Jennings became that spark plug, proving the offense could still fight its way forward in tough circumstances. The team didn't end up winning that day, but his performance etched itself in a memory, and now with his declaration that he'll be good to go this week, it feels like déjà vu with a lot more weapons around him. Now, let's talk about production. The offense actually moved the ball really well. For all the frustrations and how the game unfolded, San Francisco still finished just shy of 400 total yards. That's no small feat, especially in a contest where momentum kept slipping away at critical times. You have to credit the way the unit kept grinding. In those tense moments when the team desperately needed a response, the offense found ways to answer. Brock Purdy had sequences where he looked sharp and creative, keeping plays alive, moving the pocket, and delivering strikes. The run game wasn't as explosive as we've grown accustomed to seeing, but Christian McCaffrey again showed why he's the heartbeat of this group, not only pounding the ball on the ground, but also racking up yards as a receiver, once again leading the team in catches. Defensively, there were plenty of bright spots too. The line didn't generate nearly enough pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and that's a concern. In fact, the Niners failed to register a single quarterback hit throughout the entire game, which is shocking given the talent they have up front. But despite that, the defense stepped up in critical moments. They stuffed the run in key situations. They forced field goals when the Jaguars had short fields after turnovers, and they kept the team within striking distance when it felt like the game could spiral out of control. Fred Warner was flying all over the field as usual, making big-time tackles and setting the tone, while young players like D. Winters showed promise with double-digit tackles and the kind of energy you need from a linebacker group. But let's not sugarcoat it. The special teams had a nightmare of an afternoon. That punt return touchdown they surrendered was brutal, the kind of play that can flip a game on its head, and in this case, it did. When you give up a free score like that, you make life so much harder for yourself. And yet, despite that disaster, if the special teams unit simply avoids that one catastrophic breakdown, the 49ers probably walk away with a win. That's how fine the margins were. It's one of those situations where a single mistake undoes so much of the good work across offense and defense. Then we've got to address the officiating, because as much as you don't ever want to pin a loss on the referees, the crew in this game felt like an extra opponent. Declining the penalty was already confusing enough, and even the referee later admitted it was handled poorly. There was also that ridiculous pass interference call on Upton Stout, which erased what should have been a momentum-swinging interception. It was one of the softest flags you'll ever see, and it robbed the defense of a big play they earned. And then there was the so-called completion to Travis Hunter, a play where the receiver clearly never had control before the ball hit the ground. Yet it was called a catch on the field, and because of the lack of conclusive video evidence, the ruling stood. Those kinds of moments pile up, and while the Niners still had chances to win, it felt like they were playing against the Jaguars, against themselves, and against the officials all at the same time. Dropping passes was another theme that haunted San Francisco. By my count, there were at least 7 drops, with Kendrick Bourne unfortunately contributing a handful, including a couple that were downright painful. One of them cost the team a crucial first down at a moment where the drive had potential to change the game. To his credit, Bourne owned up to those mistakes afterward, but those missed opportunities sting because they came in situations where the 49ers really needed to extend possessions. Jawan Jennings himself had one he'd usually bring down without hesitation, a ball that hit him square in the hands in the end zone. That could have completely shifted the tone of the contest heading into halftime. But instead, San Francisco settled for a field goal. Purdy, meanwhile, had a mixed performance. His first interception was tough luck, the ball bouncing off Christian McCaffrey's hands into the arms of a defender. That one doesn't sit squarely on the quarterback. The second interception, though, felt like it was headed into triple coverage, deflection or not. It was one of those layered throws where Purdy usually thrives, but if you miss by a few inches, the defense makes you pay. Later in the game, he showed resilience with a long touchdown drive that showcased his improvisation skills, dodging defenders, buying time, and delivering in the clutch. And yet, the final turnover sealed the loss. Eric Armstead, the former 49er, came crashing through and stripped Purdy as he tried to escape pressure. In fairness, Purdy had already evaded one defender brilliantly, but when two different guys are collapsing on you within seconds, it's hard to hold that against the quarterback. That moment, though, summed up the afternoon. Too many costly errors at the worst possible times. Looking back at the flow of drives, the inconsistency is clear. Long drives that ended with turnovers, promising sequences cut short by drops, and field goals when touchdowns were needed. The Jaguars, on the other hand, benefited from consistently good field position, often starting well past their own 20 thanks to returns, penalties, or turnovers. The Niners' defense bent, but didn't break on several occasions, holding Jacksonville to field goals in situations where a touchdown could have blown the game wide open. That resilience kept hope alive deep into the fourth quarter, but when you're constantly working uphill, eventually the clock runs out on you. Standouts deserve their shout-outs, though. Ricky Pearsall made one of the catches of the season, a one-handed grab, while falling that defied logic. Jake Tonjes fought through visible pain to haul in key receptions, including a touchdown that reignited the offense. And despite his struggles on the ground, Christian McCaffrey's impact as a pass catcher once again carried the unit, racking up nearly 100 yards through the air. On defense, Fred Warner and D. Winters anchored the group, while Upton Stout had his moments stolen by a questionable flag that never should have been thrown. What really gnaws at you is how winnable this game still was. Even with 4 turnovers, multiple drops, a special teams disaster, and a slew of questionable officiating calls, the 49ers were right there, driving late with a chance to steal the win. That says something about the fight in this squad, but it also highlights just how costly the mistakes were. Clean up just 1 or 2 of them, and the outcome is completely different. If the first half of that game felt like a tug of war, where the 49ers could never quite gain control, the second half was a test of resilience and frustration rolled into one. Coming out of the locker room, San Francisco put together a long, efficient drive that ended in a touchdown. For a moment, it looked like momentum had finally shifted their way. They even converted the 2-point try, and the sideline energy was electric. The belief was there, the spark was back, and you could almost sense the players reminding themselves that despite the mistakes in the first half, they were still capable of dictating the pace. Then came the gut punch when Jawan Jennings took a brutal hit to the ribs that looked like it might end his night. His reaction had everyone thinking it was serious, maybe even fractured ribs. But in a display of toughness that has defined his career, Jennings returned, refusing to let pain keep him sidelined. That kind of grit is contagious, and it's why he's such a respected figure in the locker room. Unfortunately, the good vibes didn't last. On the next series, Purdy threw an interception that you can generously label as deflected, but watching it back, the ball's trajectory was already heading into a cluster of defenders. That moment sucked the air out of the drive and handed the Jaguars another opportunity. This is where you could feel how thin the margin for error had become. Every turnover piled on more pressure, and the defense, already stretched, had to dig deep just to keep the game within reach. The offense couldn't afford wasted possessions, and yet they kept giving the ball away. Kendrick Bourne's struggles stood out again in the second half. A drop on a critical third down ended what looked like a promising drive, and you could see the frustration on his face immediately. It wasn't about effort. The plays were right there for the taking, but execution betrayed the 49ers in the biggest spots. Even Demarcus Robinson, who was expected to play a limited role after being away from the team, couldn't haul in a high but catchable throw from Purdy on fourth down. That turnover on down stung because the ball placement was challenging yet manageable, and Robinson has made tougher grabs before. In games like this, every misconnection looms large, and those two sequences combined to keep points off the board when they were badly needed. Despite the setbacks, the 49ers kept clawing back. One of the most impressive moments was the 10th drive, starting deep in their own territory. That series showcased what Purdy can do when he's calm and improvising. He extended plays with his legs, kept his eyes downfield, and strung together a sequence of completions that culminated in a touchdown. It was a brilliant response and a reminder of his potential when everything clicks. That drive was the blueprint of how this team can look when its rhythm is intact, but it also served as a contrast to the chaos that defined so many of their other possessions. Then came the final chance. Down late in the fourth quarter, the 49ers had the ball in their hands with a shot to write a storybook ending. 3 minutes on the clock, the tension building, and fans believing that despite 4 turnovers, despite drops and officiating blunders, this team might still escape with a victory. But just as quickly as hope was building, it was ripped away. Eric Armstead, a familiar face-turned opponent, powered his way through and got his hands on Purdy. To his credit, Purdy had already avoided the first rusher with an incredible sidestep, but when you've got 2 defenders collapsing in under 4 seconds, there's only so much a quarterback can do. The ball came loose, the Jaguars pounced, and with that, the door slammed shut. The heartbreak was immediate because the comeback was within reach, and then it was gone in an instant. Looking at Jacksonville's drives, what stood out most was how often they started with favorable field position. Outside of their opening couple of series, the Jaguars were constantly handed short fields. Special teams miscues, turnovers, and penalties flipped the field repeatedly. That's why their drive chart looked so much cleaner. They didn't need 80-yard marches down the field. They were starting near midfield or already in plus territory. Even then, the 49ers defense deserves recognition for holding them to field goals on several of those possessions. When you hand your opponent the ball inside your own 30 and they walk away with only 3 points, that's a victory for the defense. Those stands kept the game alive until the very end, and without that resilience, the contest would have been over long before the final whistle. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. San Francisco is buzzing with excitement tonight as whispers of a blockbuster move have begun to dominate social media and sports talk shows alike. Tyreek Hill, the electrifying wide receiver known for his jaw-dropping speed and game-changing plays, is reportedly on the verge of joining the San Francisco 49ers. While the team has yet to confirm the deal, insiders suggest that negotiations have progressed rapidly, and fans are already imagining Hill donning the iconic red and gold. The mere possibility of Hill in a 49ers uniform has sparked a frenzy among supporters, who have taken to the streets chanting his name and flooding online forums with speculation about how the offense could transform. Analysts are already debating the impact of Hill's presence alongside Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, envisioning a dynamic, fast-paced attack that could terrorize defenses across the league. The potential for big plays, long touchdowns, and highlight reels is electrifying, and fans are dreaming of a season that could rival the greatest in recent memory. Sources close to the situation hint that the deal may hinge on creative roster moves or draft pick swaps. But Hill's reputation as a top-tier playmaker makes him a coveted asset, and the 49ers appear willing to go all in. Social media has exploded with reactions, from fans expressing disbelief to pundits speculating on how opposing defenses will even attempt to contain his speed. Some are even suggesting that Hill's arrival could mark a new era in San Francisco football, rekindling championship hopes and adding a layer of excitement rarely seen in the Bay Area. While official confirmation remains pending, the buzz is undeniable. If Hill truly lands in San Francisco, the 49ers' offense would instantly become one of the most feared in the NFL. Every snap could become a spectacle, every deep route a potential game changer, and every touchdown a viral sensation. For now, fans will have to wait with bated breath. But one thing is certain. The rumor of Tyreek Hill joining the 49ers has already turned the city into a carnival of anticipation, with expectations soaring higher than ever. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.